We know that there are more displaced people today than ever before. Can you set the scene for us?
Well, thank you, Sunita, for the question. Just before I answer, I did want to say something about Anita. I didn't know her, Anita Ashok Datar. I didn't know her personally, but I am familiar with her work on global health policy. And as someone trained in public health, being here today has a special meaning for me. I also just want to thank the Rutgers team for the opportunity to speak at this event, and warm greetings to my fellow panelists. I think it's important to start by recognizing that the displacement crisis is on a scale we've never seen before and continues to grow unabated. There are currently 82 million displaced people around the globe. This means 1% of the world's population is now forcibly displaced. 75 to 80% are women and children. War, violence, human rights violations, poverty, and extreme climate events are causing massive displacement. And these push factors are increasingly interconnected and mutually reinforcing. And the dynamic is really driving more and more people in search of safety, security, and opportunities. And in turn, it's expanding the potential scope and complexity of humanitarian responses. Displacement today can last for years, decades, even generations, and some people are displaced multiple times. And most people who are forced to abandon their homes don't actually cross over borders. They are internally displaced. And the majority of those that do leave their home country end up living in neighboring countries and are eligible for legal protection as refugees. But the media often uses images of remote camps as visual shorthand for refugees and displaced people. But today, 60% end up in urban areas. And this pattern of urbanization has really been accelerated by the Syrian refugee crisis. Another dimension to note is that the majority of refugees are finding sanctuary in developing countries, which are least able to afford it. And this flux of refugees into these countries is causing enormous hardship and tension. Such countries as Pakistan, Uganda, and Bangladesh have received large numbers of refugees in recent years, but only a minority actually get to settle in Western countries. Shockingly, the global displacement crisis is made worse by wealthy nations closing their borders and turning their backs on the most vulnerable people. And as we've seen at our own southern border, families seeking safety are often being turned away despite their legal right to asylum. And the current situation at the border between Belarus and Poland is another very disturbing example. In reality, when people are displaced, whether in their own country or they have found refuge in a new country, they invariably need humanitarian assistance. But given the evolving challenges of displacement today, we basically need a fundamental shift in the way we provide aid. It's not just what we do, it's also about how we do it. And as an organization advocating for the rights of displaced women, children, and youth, the Women's Refugee Commission sees how humanitarian responses are falling short on advancing equity and inclusion. Women and adolescent girls, people with disabilities, LGBTQI individuals are still too often overlooked in response programs. However, there are some ambitious international agreements and signs of positive new thinking that, if fully implemented, would result in transformative change. For example, there's a growing call to shift power and resources to local populations, to local actors, including women-led organizations, to ensure displaced and host communities drive the solutions to the crises that are affecting their lives. And there's also a deeper understanding that humanitarian responses must be delivered in a broader context that includes longer-term development and peace processes, often referred to as the humanitarian development peace nexus. So I'll end by saying the bottom line is that we need to be bolder. We need systemic change, and we need sustainable solutions to meet the growing needs of displaced communities, particularly the most marginalized ones. Thank you.